I never imagined my life would unravel like this. At 32, I, Chloe Morgan, stood in the opulent living room of our Chicago penthouse, facing my husband of 3 years, Alexander Thornton. Alex was the epitome of power. Tall, with sharp features, dark hair perfectly styled, and piercing blue eyes that could cut through steel. He was the CEO of Thornton Enterprises, a billion-dollar empire in tech and real estate, and he carried himself like he owned the world. In many ways, he did. "We can divorce, Alex," I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "I don't want the house, the cars, or any of your money, but I want a child." He laughed, a cold, mocking sound that echoed off the marble floors. "A child? Chloe, you're delusional. You think you deserve that? After everything?" His words stung like a slap. Our marriage had been arranged, forced by his family to secure an alliance with my modest family background. I came from a middle-class upbringing in suburban Illinois, a former marketing consultant who'd given up her career to play the perfect wife. But Alex had been distant from day one, treating me like an obligation rather than a partner. His family saw me as beneath them, a small-town girl who didn't fit their elite circle. "You owe me this," I insisted, stepping closer. He towered over me at 6'2", his tailored suit emphasizing his broad shoulders. 3 years of cold shoulders, of feeling like a ghost in my own home. My heart died a long time ago. Before I leave, I just want a piece of us, a child to love. He crossed his arms, his blue eyes narrowing. "You schemed your way into my bed that night, Chloe. Don't pretend otherwise." It wasn't true. That one night of passion had been mutual, born from a rare moment of vulnerability after a company gala. But he twisted it into manipulation, using it as an excuse for his resentment. "This is what you owe me," I repeated, my hands trembling. "You're insane," he snapped, turning away. "Get out." I didn't. Instead, I stayed, pleading until he relented, not out of love, but annoyance. That night we conceived, though he made it clear it was a transaction. The next morning, he handed me a black credit card. "There's $50,000 on it. Payment for last night. We're done." I took it, humiliated but determined. As I left the penthouse, the city lights of Chicago blurring through my tears, I vowed to disappear. Little did he know, fate had more in store. Weeks later, the pregnancy test confirmed it. But at the doctor's appointment, shock hit me like a freight train. "Triplets," the obstetrician said, smiling. "2 boys and a girl." My world spun. I couldn't tell Alex he'd never believe me, or worse, he'd take them all. With my mother's help, Margaret, a kind woman in her 60s with silver-streaked hair and warm brown eyes like mine, I planned my escape. I fled to a small town in upstate New York, using the $50,000 to start over as a freelance writer. For 10 months, I hid, my belly growing under loose sweaters. Labor came early, painful and terrifying. In a rural hospital, I gave birth to Ethan, Noah, and Sophia. Ethan, the eldest, had Alex's dark hair and blue eyes, a mini version of his father. Noah was identical, with the same intense gaze. Sophia, the smallest, had my softer features but those unmistakable Thornton eyes. "They're perfect," Margaret whispered, holding Sophia's tiny hand. But Alex's reach was long. Rumors spread. Thornton heiress Chloe Morgan missing for 10 months. Reward, $1 million for information. I knew I had to act. Alex would find out about the birth eventually. He had eyes everywhere. To protect them, I made the hardest choice. I'd give him 1 child, fake my death, and keep the others hidden. It was the only way to stop his pursuit. The plan was incredibly risky, but I had no other choice if I wanted to protect my babies from Alex's powerful reach. I reached out to a discreet lawyer I'd found through an old family friend, someone who specialized in anonymous adoptions and delicate family matters. Together, we arranged for Ethan, my eldest triplet, to be discovered at a reputable hospital in downtown Chicago. I left him there with a heartbreaking note tucked into his blanket. "This is your son, Alexander Thornton. His mother, Chloe Morgan, died during a difficult childbirth. Please care for him. He's all that's left of her." It tore my soul apart to let him go, but I knew Alex would verify everything, and the DNA test would confirm the truth without leading back to me. Through whispers from a few lingering contacts in Alex's circle, people I'd once considered acquaintances, I later learned how the news hit him. He was devastated, more than anyone expected from the stoic CEO. One source told me he locked himself in his office for days, his voice reportedly cracking when he finally spoke. "She's really gone, dead." It was the first time anyone had seen him show real emotion, a vulnerability that surprised even his closest aides. With Ethan safely in Alex's care, I moved forward with staging my own death to end any potential search. The lawyer helped forge an accident report, a supposed car crash in a remote area, and a death certificate that looked official enough to fool investigators. My mother, Margaret, was my rock through it all. Her kind eyes, now lined with worry, helped me pack what little we had. We relocated to Seattle, a city far enough away to feel like a fresh start. There, in a cozy but modest one-bedroom apartment overlooking rainy streets, I took on odd jobs, waitressing at a diner, freelance writing gigs, to make ends meet. Noah and Sophia grew into vibrant 4-year-olds, their curly dark hair bouncing as they played, and those piercing blue eyes, a mirror of Alex's, reminding me daily of the life I'd left behind. They were smart, curious kids, always asking questions, but I shielded them from the truth, spinning stories of a distant daddy who loved them from afar. But 5 years later, everything changed when Margaret fell gravely ill. The diagnosis was stage 4 cancer, aggressive and unrelenting, spreading faster than the doctors could treat. On her hospital bed, her frail hand gripping mine, she whispered through labored breaths, "Chloe, please, go back to Chicago. I need to see my grandson before I go. Ethan, bring him to me, even if just for a moment. Don't let me leave without that." I had no choice but to honor her wish. Packing up Noah and Sophia's toys, clothes, and our few belongings, I booked flights back to the city that held so many painful memories. As we prepared, Sophia looked up at me with her innocent blue eyes, her small hand tugging at my sleeve while I adjusted my sunglasses and wrapped a scarf around my face. "Mommy, why are you covering your face like that? You look like a spy in a movie." I forced a smile, kneeling to her level and brushing a curl from her forehead. "It's just fashion, sweetie, like those cool celebrities we see on TV. It makes us look mysterious and fun. Plus, it keeps the sun out of our eyes." She giggled, accepting it easily, but my heart pounded with anxiety. Chicago was a massive city, bustling with millions. The odds of running into Alex were slim to none. Or so I convinced myself as we boarded the plane. The airport was a whirlwind of chaos from the moment we landed. Noah and Sophia, buzzing with excitement from their first big trip, darted ahead through the crowded terminal, their little backpacks bouncing. "Noah, Sophia, stay close to Mommy, hold my hands," I called, weaving through the throngs of travelers, my scarf slipping slightly in the rush. Then, amidst the sea of faces, I spotted him, Alex, striding confidently toward a gate, his tall, imposing frame cutting through the crowd like a knife. He hadn't aged a day, in fact. At 38, he looked even more commanding, his dark hair neatly styled, jaw set firm under a crisp navy suit that screamed power and wealth. My breath caught. I hadn't prepared for this. Our eyes met for a split second. But no, his gaze shifted downward, landing on the kids. Sophia let out a bubbly giggle at something Noah whispered, her face lighting up with joy. To my horror, Alex's lips curved into a rare, genuine smile, one I'd seen only a handful of times during our marriage, warm and disarming, making my stomach twist with old emotions. He approached casually, his deep voice carrying over the noise. "Those are some cute kids you've got there. They look like they could be child stars. Bright eyes, full of energy. I froze, my pulse thundering in my ears as I pulled my scarf higher, hoping the sunglasses hid enough. "Thanks," I muttered quickly, grabbing the kid's hands tighter. "Excuse us, we're in a hurry." We hurried away, but Sophia tugged at my sleeve, her voice curious and loud. "Mommy, that uncle was so handsome. Why did we run away from him? He seemed nice," I whispered back, glancing over my shoulder to ensure he wasn't following. "Because, sweetie, men in fancy suits like that can be trouble sometimes. They might seem charming, but they can steal kids' hearts, or worse. We have to be careful." Little did I know, that brief encounter had already set trouble in motion, pulling us back into the web I'd fought so hard to escape. 5 years had transformed me in ways I never expected. Now the youthful glow I once had was replaced by faint worry lines around my eyes and forehead, etched from countless sleepless nights fretting over my children and the secrets I carried. My brown hair, which used to cascade down my back, was now cut to shoulder length and often pulled into a simple ponytail for practicality. I had rented a cozy but modest 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood on the outskirts of Chicago, far removed from the glittering opulence of Alex's Gold Coast penthouse. It was a safe haven where Noah and Sophia could play without drawing too much attention, though their striking features, dark curly hair, piercing blue eyes inherited from their father, and those infectious, dimpled smiles often turned heads at the local park or grocery store. We enrolled the twins in a nearby preschool, where they quickly became favorites among the teachers for their curiosity and charm. Noah was the bolder one, always leading adventures on the playground, while Sophia was sweeter, often sharing her toys with a gentle hug. But every day, as I dropped them off, a knot of anxiety twisted in my stomach. What if someone recognized their resemblance to Alex Thornton, the famous CEO whose face occasionally splashed across business magazines? Meanwhile, my mother Margaret's health deteriorated rapidly in the hospice center downtown. She was in her late 60s now, her once vibrant silver-streaked hair thinned by chemotherapy, and her warm brown eyes, mirror images of mine, dimmed by pain. During my visits, she'd hold my hand weakly and whisper, "Chloe, I need to see all my grandchildren before I go, especially Ethan. Promise me." "I promise, Mom," I'd reply, forcing a smile while my heart ached. But how could I bring Ethan to her without risking everything? Alex had him under tight security, raised as the sole Thornton heir in a world of luxury and isolation. That's when I decided to take the boldest step yet, applying for a nanny position at Thornton Manor. I used an alias, Sarah Harper, and a fake resume highlighting my experience with young children. To disguise myself, I watched online tutorials on subtle makeup transformations, contouring my cheeks to alter my face shape and wearing colored contacts that turned my brown eyes a muted green. I even practiced a slight Midwestern accent to mask my natural voice. The interview was with Chris Lee, Alex's loyal assistant, a polished man in his mid-40s with neatly combed salt and pepper hair and a no-nonsense demeanor. He wore a crisp suit, much like Alex's style, and eyed my application skeptically. "Ms. Harper, Mr. Thornton is very particular about who cares for his son, Ethan. The boy can be challenging. He's 5 now, and he's had a string of nannies who couldn't handle him." "I understand," I said calmly, my hands folded in my lap to hide their slight tremble. "I've worked with difficult children before. I believe patience and consistency are key." Chris nodded, then led me to the playroom where Ethan was sitting alone, building a tower with blocks. My breath caught in my throat at the sight of him, tall for his age, with Alex's dark hair tousled and those intense blue eyes focused intently on his task. He looked so much like his brothers, yet there was a loneliness in his posture that broke my heart. This was my firstborn, the one I'd sacrificed to protect the others. "Ethan, meet Ms. Harper. She's here to help take care of you," Chris introduced. Ethan glanced up briefly, his expression guarded. "I don't need anyone," he muttered, knocking over his tower in frustration. I knelt down to his level, smiling gently. That's okay. How about we build something together? Or maybe I can make you a snack, something colorful and fun, like rainbow porridge. He hesitated, then shrugged. Fine, but it better be good. As I prepared the porridge in the Manor's state-of-the-art kitchen, memories flooded back, the cold nights in our marriage when Alex would ignore me, treating me like an unwelcome guest. Now, here I was, infiltrating his world again, all for a chance to be near my son. Ethan tasted the porridge tentatively, then his eyes lit up. This is yummy, better than Daddy's. Just then, Alex strode in, his tall frame dominating the doorway. He was dressed in a tailored gray suit that accentuated his broad shoulders and athletic build, his blue eyes scanning the room with authority. What's going on here? Who authorized this? Chris stepped forward quickly. Sir, this is the new nanny, Ms. Harper. Ethan seems to like her cooking. Alex's gaze locked on me, and for a split second, I feared recognition. But the disguise held. He only eats what I prepare, Alex said sternly, crossing his arms. If he refuses again, you're fired. I understand, Mr. Thornton, I replied evenly, my heart pounding. I'll do my best. He turned to Ethan. Eat up, son. It's good for you. Ethan pouted but continued eating, glancing at me with a small smile. Alex watched us for a moment longer, his expression unreadable, before leaving the room. The days turned into a delicate balancing act. I'd spend mornings with Ethan, reading stories or playing games, cherishing every hug and laugh. Ms. Harper, why don't I have a mommy like other kids? He'd ask one afternoon, his blue eyes wide and innocent as we sat on the plush rug in his room. I swallowed hard, choosing my words carefully. Your mommy loves you very much, Ethan. She's always watching over you, even if you can't see her. He nodded solemnly, leaning his head on my shoulder. Moments like these made the risk worth it, but they also tore at me, knowing Noah and Sophia were waiting at home, wondering why Mommy was always at work. One evening, as I sneaked a visit to Margaret, I overheard a nurse on the phone with Chris. I only caught a glimpse of her back in the hallway, but she seemed familiar, visiting Mrs. Morgan again. My blood ran cold. Alex's team was investigating. Panic surged through me. They were getting too close. Back at the manor, Ethan had another meltdown, refusing dinner. I want my mommy, not this stupid food. I quickly whipped up the porridge, coaxing him gently. Try one bite, Ethan, for me? He relented, eating slowly at first, then with enthusiasm. It's good, like magic. Alex burst in mid-meal, his face thunderous. What are you doing? I told you he only eats my cooking. He likes it, sir, I defended, standing my ground. Look, he's eating happily. Get out, Alex barked, pointing to the door. But Ethan protested loudly. No, Daddy, I want Ms. Harper's food. Alex paused, surprised by his son's outburst. He rubbed his temple, sighing. Fine. One more chance, but I'm watching you. His suspicion was palpable, his blue eyes boring into mine. Who are you really, Ms. Harper? You seem familiar. Just a nanny trying to do her job, I said, my voice steady despite the racing pulse. Inwardly, I knew the lies were piling up like a house of cards. The breaking point came with a frantic call from Noah. Mommy, my tummy hurts so bad. Come home. I rushed out, leaving a note for Chris about an emergency, but Alex noticed my abrupt absence the next day. Where were you yesterday? Ethan asked for you. Just a quick errand, I lied, avoiding his gaze. The web of deception was tightening, and I could feel it closing in. That night, alone in my apartment bathroom, I removed the contacts and makeup, staring at my true reflection, brown eyes, familiar features. This can't last forever, I whispered to myself. The risk of exposure grew daily, but for Ethan, And for Margaret's dying wish, I had to keep going. One wrong move, and everything could shatter. Several months had slipped by since I started working as Ethan's nanny under my alias, Ms. Harper, and the weight of my deception felt heavier with each passing day. I lived in constant fear of being discovered, always checking over my shoulder, adjusting my disguise, subtle makeup to alter my cheekbones, green contact lenses to hide my natural brown eyes, and oversized glasses that obscured my face. But seeing Ethan flourish made it all worthwhile. The once withdrawn boy, who had barely spoken when I first arrived, now bubbled with laughter and energy. His small frame, so reminiscent of Alex's athletic build, would light up during our playtime in the manor's expansive garden, where we'd chase butterflies or build forts from blankets. One evening, as the sun dipped below the Chicago skyline, visible from the manor's floor-to-ceiling windows, Ethan wrapped his arms around my waist in a tight hug. "Ms. Harper, you're just like a mommy," he said, his voice muffled against my shirt. "You make the best stories and hugs." I knelt down to his level, brushing his dark curls from his forehead, curls that matched Noah's exactly. "I'm glad you think so, sweetie," I replied, my heart aching with the secret I carried. "Now let's get you ready for bed." Alex had begun to notice the changes too. He was often buried in work calls or reviewing documents in his sleek home office, but he'd pause to observe us from afar. One afternoon, as I helped Ethan with a puzzle in the living room, Alex entered, loosening his tie after a long day. At 38, he remained strikingly handsome, with his sharp jawline, perfectly groomed dark hair, and those intense blue eyes that could shift from icy to warm in rare moments. But the stress of running Thornton Enterprises, a sprawling billion-dollar empire in tech innovations and urban development, had etched faint lines around his eyes and forehead, making him look more weary than the invincible man I'd married. "He's changed a lot," Alex commented, his voice low and approving as he watched Ethan concentrate on the puzzle pieces. "More outgoing, happier. Good work, Ms. Harper." His compliments were sparse, like precious gems, and this one caught me off guard. "Thank you, Mr. Thornton," I said, keeping my tone professional. "Ethan's a wonderful boy. He just needed a little encouragement." Alex nodded, his blue eyes lingering on us for a moment longer than usual, a flicker of something softer crossing his face before he turned away to answer his phone. The harmony was disrupted when Victoria, Alex's younger sister, paid an unexpected visit. Victoria was in her mid-30s, elegant and poised, with long blonde hair that cascaded in waves and the same piercing blue eyes as her brother. She worked as a fashion consultant in the city, always dressed impeccably in designer outfits that screamed sophistication. "Brother," she greeted Alex with a hug in the foyer, "I had to come see how Ethan's doing, and wow, look at him, smiling ear to ear." We were in the playroom, where Ethan was drawing pictures of superheroes. Victoria knelt beside him, her smile genuine. "Ethan, buddy, you're so happy now. This new nanny must be a miracle worker." Alex glanced at me, his expression neutral. "She's competent. But don't get too attached, Victoria. Nannies come and go." I overheard his words from the hallway, and they stung like a fresh wound, reminding me of my precarious position. My heart sank further when I returned home that evening to my modest apartment. Noah and Sophia, my energetic 5-year-olds, were waiting with drawings of their own, but their faces fell when they saw my exhaustion. "Mommy, why do you spend so much time with that other boy?" Noah asked, his blue eyes narrowing in accusation, his curly dark hair tousled from playing outside. Sophia nodded beside him, clutching her stuffed bear, her softer features mirroring my own, but with those unmistakable Thornton eyes. I pulled them into a hug. "Ethan's your big brother, sweeties. One day, when it's safe, you'll all meet and play together. I promise." But fate had other plans, intervening in the most chaotic way. A few days later, Noah, ever the adventurous one, sneaked out of our apartment after preschool. He'd overheard me mentioning Thornton Manor on a phone call, and curious as ever, used the location tracking on my old phone I'd given him as a toy. "Mommy's there a lot," he later told me. I wanted to see why. Dressed in his little jeans and a red hoodie, Noah made his way across town, miraculously avoiding danger, and slipped through the Manor's security gate by blending in with a delivery truck. His resemblance to Ethan was his perfect camouflage. Inside the sprawling estate, with its manicured lawns and towering columns, he wandered until he found Ethan in the playroom. "You look just like me," Noah exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder as he stared at his identical twin brother. Ethan's mouth dropped open, his blue eyes mirroring the shock. "Whoa! Are we brothers, like in the stories Ms. Harper tells?" "Yeah," Noah grinned. "I'm Noah. Mommy talks about you sometimes. Want to swap clothes? It'll be fun." Ethan, thrilled by the adventure, agreed. They exchanged outfits, Noah in Ethan's neat button-up shirt, Ethan in Noah's casual hoodie, and Noah took Ethan's place for the afternoon. When Alex came home early from a meeting, he found Ethan, actually Noah, being unusually chatty and outgoing, building a tower of blocks with exaggerated enthusiasm. "What's with you today, son?" Alex asked, crouching down with a puzzled frown. "You're talking a mile a minute." Noah, playing the part with his natural charm, pouted cutely and threw his arms around Alex's neck, a gesture Ethan rarely did. "Daddy, please don't fire Ms. Harper. She's super nice and makes the best snacks. Pretty, please?" Alex blinked, taken aback by the sudden affection. "Since when do you beg like this? And what's with the hugging?" The swaps became a secret game between the boys over the next few days. They'd sneak meetings, trading places briefly, which confused everyone around them. One moment, Ethan was quiet and reserved, sketching alone. The next, he was bubbly, demanding playtime. Victoria noticed during her next visit. "Alex, Ethan's moods are swinging wildly. One day he's silent, the next he's a chatterbox. Maybe it's split personality? We should get a doctor to check him out." Alex rubbed his temples, worry creasing his forehead. "I'll look into it. This isn't normal." The boys eventually confessed to me during one of my nanny shifts, cornering me in the kitchen with guilty expressions. "We did it because we want you and Daddy to be together," Ethan admitted, twisting his hands. "Noah said if we act weird, maybe Daddy will notice how much we need a mommy." Noah nodded vigorously. "Yeah, and you're the best mommy ever." I panicked, my mind racing with the risks. "This is too dangerous, boys. If your daddy finds out," but it was too late. That very evening, Alex confronted me in the hallway after catching Ethan in another uncharacteristic outburst. "Something's off with him. What have you done? Are you poisoning his mind?" "Nothing, I swear," I protested, backing away. He stepped closer, his frustration boiling over, and in a swift motion, he reached out and pulled off my glasses. The contact lenses shifted slightly, revealing a hint of my true brown eyes. Recognition hit him like a thunderbolt, his face draining of color. "Chloe?" His voice cracked, those piercing blue eyes widening in shock. He stepped back, running a hand through his dark hair, which was slightly disheveled from a long day at the office. At 38, he still looked every bit the powerful CEO, but the lines around his eyes spoke of sleepless nights and buried pain. "You're alive? You faked your death? And Ethan, the triplets? How could you hide this from me?" I pulled away, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Tears welled up as I faced him, my voice trembling but defiant. "Yes, Alex, they're all yours. Ethan, Noah, and Sophia. I didn't fake my death to hurt you. I did it to protect them. You hated me from the start of our marriage. It was arranged, remember? Forced by your family. You treated me like I was invisible, like I didn't matter. When I begged for a child before the divorce, you laughed in my face. I couldn't risk you taking them all away in some custody battle. You have power, money, everything. I had nothing but my love for them." He paced the room, his tall frame casting long shadows under the bright kitchen lights. 5 years, Chloe. I mourned you. I raised Ethan alone thinking you died giving birth to him. And all this time, you were out there with 2 more of my children? Noah and Sophia? They look just like him, don't they? Like me. His voice rose, a mix of anger and raw hurt. You schemed this from the beginning, didn't you? That night we conceived. You planned it all. No, I shouted, stepping closer, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. That night was real for me. I loved you, Alex, even when you pushed me away. But after the divorce papers, after you handed me that credit card like I was some transaction, I had to run. I gave you Ethan to stop your search, to buy time. Faking my death was the only way to keep Noah and Sophia safe from your world, from the coldness I knew too well. He stopped pacing, his blue eyes locking onto mine, filled with a storm of emotions. Safe? From me? I'm their father. You stole years from us. I demand custody of all 3. Ethan stays here, and I'll fight for the others. My lawyers will bury you in court. The legal battle began almost immediately. Alex's team was ruthless, filing for full custody and painting me as an unfit mother who'd abandoned her child and faked her own death. In the sterile Chicago courtroom, I sat on one side, my modest lawyer arguing my case, while Alex's high-powered attorneys dominated. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s with sharp features and graying hair, listened intently. Ms. Morgan abandoned her son and deceived the father, one of Alex's lawyers declared, his voice booming. She hid 2 additional children for 5 years. This is parental alienation at its worst. My lawyer countered. Your Honor, Ms. Morgan acted out of fear. The marriage was loveless and coercive. She protected her children from a potentially hostile environment. Alex testified, his posture rigid in his tailored suit. I love my sons and daughter. I deserve to raise them properly, with the resources they need. When it was my turn, I stood, my voice steady despite the nerves. I never stopped loving them. Alex, you were cold and distant. I begged for a family, but you saw me as a burden. I ran to give them a chance at happiness, away from the resentment. Please, don't take them from me now. The judge ruled on temporary joint custody, allowing me to move into the guest wing of Thornton Manor, a sprawling estate on the outskirts of Chicago, with manicured lawns and towering oak trees. For the children's sake, she said, prove you can co-parent. Moving in was surreal. The guest suite was luxurious, with plush carpets and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the garden. But the tension was palpable. Alex and I avoided each other, communicating through notes or the staff. The kids, however, blossomed. Ethan and Noah, the identical twins with their curly dark hair and mischievous blue eyes, became inseparable, pulling pranks like switching clothes to confuse the maids. Sophia, my little princess with her softer features and sweet smile, adored her brothers, often mediating their squabbles with hugs. Ethan, teach me to climb trees, Noah would beg, his laughter echoing through the halls. Sophia would chime in, be careful, boys. Mommy says no broken bones. Family dinners were awkward affairs in the grand dining room, with its crystal chandelier and long mahogany table. Alex sat at the head, his presence commanding, while I sat opposite with the kids. Pass the salad, please, I'd say, avoiding his gaze. One evening, Alex's father, Reginald Thornton, an imposing man in his early 70s with silver hair and a stern jawline like his son's, joined us unexpectedly. He eyed me warily at first, his bushy eyebrows furrowed. Chloe, I thought you were gone. This deception, it's unforgivable. I met his stare. I did what I had to, Mr. Thornton, for the children. He watched the kids play after dinner, Ethan and Noah building a fort with cushions, Sophia giggling as she decorated it with her dolls. A small smile cracked his stern facade. They're happy together. Alex, perhaps it's time to reconcile, for their sake. Life's too short for grudges. Alex stiffened, his fork clinking against the plate. Father, she left. Hid my children. I can't just forget that. Reginald leaned forward, his voice low and gravelly. Son, I see how you look at her. You mourned her like a widower. Don't let pride ruin this family. Alex glanced at me, his blue eyes conflicted, but he shook his head. It's not that simple. The turning point came one stormy night. Sophia woke screaming, her small body burning with fever. Mommy, it hurts! I rushed to her room, scooping her up. Alex burst in moments later, his hair tousled from sleep, wearing only pajama pants that revealed his toned chest. What's wrong? Fever. High, I said, panic rising. We worked together, me applying cool cloths to her forehead, him calling the family doctor and holding her hand. It's okay, princess, he murmured, his voice gentle as he stroked her hair. Daddy's here. As the doctor arrived and treated her, we sat side by side on her bed, our shoulders touching. Sophia drifted off, her breathing steady. Thanks for helping, he said quietly, his blue eyes meeting mine in the dim light. I'd do anything for her, for them, I replied. In that moment, the walls between us cracked, a fragile warmth seeping through. But tensions simmered, the custody fight looming like a dark cloud. As the days turned into weeks, the fragile peace we'd built began to crack under the weight of old wounds and new suspicions. It started with Lauren's unexpected visits to the manor. She was everything I wasn't. Polished, confident, with long blonde waves that cascaded down her back and designer outfits that screamed old money. At 35, she moved with the grace of someone born into Alex's world, her green eyes always lingering a little too long on him. Alex, darling, she'd purr, placing a manicured hand on his arm as if I weren't even in the room. We need to catch up. Remember that gala last month? You were so charming. The kids sensed it too. Noah would scowl, his little fists clenched. She's mean, Mommy. She ignores us. Sophia, ever the sensitive one, would hide behind my legs, her blue eyes wide with unease. Ethan, who was starting to bond with his siblings, would just stare silently, mirroring his father's stoic demeanor. I tried to ignore it at first, focusing on the children. We'd spend afternoons in the manor's sprawling garden, the triplets chasing each other through the manicured lawns under the Chicago sun. Their laughter was a balm, but every time Lauren appeared, it stirred a jealousy I hadn't felt in years. Was Alex seeing her? The rumors in the society pages didn't help. Whispers of Thornton heir courting socialite heiress. One evening, after she'd left in a cloud of expensive perfume, I couldn't hold back anymore. Alex, I said, cornering him in his study. The room was dimly lit, bookshelves towering like silent judges, and he sat behind his massive oak desk looking every bit the powerful CEO in his tailored shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms. Are you remarrying? The kids, they deserve to know if someone's coming into their lives. He looked up from his laptop, his blue eyes narrowing in surprise. Remarrying? Who told you that? Lauren acts like she's already planning the wedding, I replied, my voice sharper than intended. She waltzes in here, touching you, talking about old times, and you don't stop her. You've been out late every night this week. If you're moving on, just say it. But think about Ethan, Noah, and Sophia. They need stability, not some stepmother who sees them as accessories. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples as if I were giving him a headache. Chloe, you're jumping to conclusions. Lauren and I are just friends. Business associates, really. Those late nights are work. Thornton Enterprises doesn't run itself. And no, I'm not remarrying. Not her, not anyone. Satisfied? His tone was defensive, but there was a flicker in his eyes. Something like guilt? It only fueled my doubts. Friends? She looks at you like you're her next conquest. And you smile back. After everything we've been through, the least you owe me is honesty. I hid the kids to protect them from a loveless home. But if you're building one with her— Enough! He stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. You think you know everything? You disappeared for 5 years, faked your death, and now you're lecturing me on trust? Lauren's nothing. But if you keep pushing, maybe I'll reconsider. The words hung between us like a storm cloud. I turned away, tears pricking my eyes, but not before whispering, Fine, just don't drag the children into your games. That argument lingered, poisoning the air. I threw myself into motherhood, organizing playdates and baking sessions to distract myself. The triplets flourished, Noah's mischievous grin lighting up rooms, Sophia's gentle hugs melting my heart, Ethan's quiet curiosity reminding me so much of Alex in his rare soft moments. Then came the revelation about Margaret's surgery. I'd been visiting her in hospice, her frail body hooked to machines, her silver hair thin and wispy. Chloe, the doctors say they've found a specialist, she told me one afternoon, her voice weak but hopeful. From Thornton Medical Center, it's like a miracle. My blood ran cold. Thornton Medical was Alex's flagship hospital, equipped with the best resources money could buy. How had she gotten access? I confronted him that night in the kitchen, where he was surprisingly making coffee, his broad shoulders tense under his shirt. Why did you arrange Margaret's surgery? I demanded, crossing my arms. The counter separated us, but the space felt charged. I found out today. The best doctors, experimental treatments, that's not standard care. What are you playing at? He set down his mug, meeting my gaze steadily. Because she's your mother. And despite everything, I care about what happens to you, to our family. The admission caught me off guard. Care? You hated me for years, called me a schemer, a gold digger. Now this? Is it pity? Or some ploy to win custody? His jaw clenched, a vein pulsing in his neck. Pity? Chloe, I've spent 5 years thinking you were dead, raising Ethan alone, wondering what I did wrong, finding out about Noah and Sophia. It shattered me. But seeing you with them, alive and fighting, it reminded me why I fell for you in the first place. This isn't a ploy. It's because I want you to have your mother around, for the kids' sake, for yours. My heart thawed a fraction, warmth spreading despite my resolve. Then why the distance? The late nights? If you care, act like it. Because I'm terrified, he admitted, his voice dropping to a whisper. Terrified of messing this up again, of you leaving, so I pushed back. But Chloe, He trailed off, stepping closer. The air thickened, passion simmering just beneath the surface, the same spark from that fateful night years ago. Our arguments escalated after that. Heated exchanges in hushed tones after the kids were asleep. You can't control everything, I'd snap. And you can't run forever, he'd retort. But each fight ended with lingering glances, unspoken desires pulling us closer. Yet misunderstandings persisted. Lauren's calls increased, her voice echoing through the house on speakerphone. Alex, dinner tonight? And he'd go, leaving me to wonder, was he truly moving on? Or was this his way of protecting himself? The heartbreak gnawed at me, a constant ache, as I navigated the fine line between hope and fear. Little did I know, the storm was far from over. Out of nowhere, my distant relatives from the Carter side resurfaced after years of silence. They owned a small manufacturing company in Illinois that was on the brink of collapse, and they blamed me for it. Chloe, you've offended Alexander Thornton with this custody mess, my uncle barked over the phone, his voice gruff and demanding. He's blocking all our deals. Suppliers are pulling out left and right. You need to fix this before we go under. I was stunned. Alex had indeed wielded his corporate power like a weapon, sealing off contracts and partnerships that the Carters relied on. It was his way of pressuring me. Give up custody of the children, or your family bankrupts, he had warned me coldly during our last heated argument, his blue eyes icy as he leaned against his mahogany desk in the Thornton Enterprises office. "I can make sure they lose everything. Jobs, homes, the works." I refused outright, my voice firm despite the knot in my stomach. "Family isn't some kind of currency you can trade, Alex. I won't sell out my kids to save a business that never supported me anyway. They've ignored me for years. Now they want help? No way." But Alex didn't stop there. He escalated by threatening my own livelihood, using his influence to blacklist me from job opportunities in marketing and consulting, fields I knew well from before our marriage. "You'll lose everything if you keep fighting me," he said, his tone low and menacing as we stood in the Manor's grand foyer, the chandelier casting harsh shadows on his sharp features. "No one in Chicago will hire you with my word against you. Think about how you'll support Noah and Sophia then." The pressure built until the kids, sensing the tension, took matters into their own hands. Ethan, with his innocent determination, sneaked onto a local TV news segment about family disputes, arranged by a sympathetic friend of Victoria's. "I want my mommy," he declared on camera, his small voice trembling but clear, those blue eyes wide with emotion. "Don't take her away." The clip went viral overnight, sparking public backlash against Alex. Social media exploded. "Thornton's a monster, using money to tear a family apart." Commenters raged, sharing petitions and boycotting Thornton products. Even news outlets picked it up, painting Alex as a ruthless tycoon. The outcry forced him to relent slightly, pausing his aggressive tactics and agreeing to mediation sessions. But the custody battles dragged on, with lawyers arguing over every detail in sterile conference rooms. Victoria, ever the mediator, pulled me aside during a family dinner. She was elegant as always, her blonde hair in a chic bob, blue eyes mirroring Alex's but softer with concern. "Chloe, he loves you deep down. This aggression? It's hurt masked as control. Talk to him. Find common ground." "I doubt it," I replied, stirring my coffee. "He's using power to break me," she sighed. "Give him time. The kids are changing him. Look at how he plays with them now, smiles more, laughs. He regrets the past." Doubts lingered, swirling in my mind like storm clouds. Public backlash grew. Petitions online called Alex a heartless tycoon. His board pressured him. Relent, or stocks drop further. Finally, he called a truce meeting in the garden, under blooming roses that contrasted our tense standoff. "Fine," he said, his posture less rigid, blue eyes meeting mine with a hint of defeat. "I'll ease off your family, but custody fights continue. Joint for now, no more games." It was a small victory, but the war wasn't over. Logic told me he was softening, but my heart warned, trust him carefully. The kids' futures hung in the balance, and I wouldn't yield. The nightmare shattered my fragile peace one rainy afternoon in the Manor. I was in the sunlit playroom, watching Sophia twirl in her pink dress, her giggles filling the air, when my phone rang. An unknown number flashed on the screen. "Hello?" I answered, trying to sound composed. A gravelly, distorted voice responded immediately. "Listen carefully, Chloe Morgan. We have your son, Noah. He's safe for now, but that changes if you don't follow instructions. $2 million wired to the account we'll send. No police, no tricks, or the boy doesn't come home. You have 24 hours. My knees buckled. I gripped the phone tighter, the room spinning. "Noah? Oh God, please don't hurt him. He's only 5. Let me hear his voice. Prove he's okay." There was a muffled shuffle. Then Noah's small, terrified voice came through. "Mommy? I'm scared. Where are you?" "Noah, baby, Mommy's coming. Just be brave." The line cut off with a click, leaving me in silence broken only by my sobs. Sophia tugged at my sleeve, her blue eyes wide with confusion. "Mommy, why are you crying?" I scooped her up, forcing a smile through tears. "It's okay, sweetie. Mommy just needs to find Noah. He's lost for a bit." But inside, terror clawed at me. Who were these people? How did they know about Noah? Was it tied to our custody battles or some enemy of Alex's empire? I called Victoria first, my voice hysterical. Victoria, it's Chloe. Noah's been kidnapped. They want $2 million and said no police. What do I do? I can't lose him. Victoria arrived in under 20 minutes. Her blonde hair windswept, face pale under her makeup. She hugged me fiercely. Tell me everything. Play the recording if you have it. I did, my hands shaking as I hit replay. They let me hear him. He sounded so small, so frightened. 2 million, I don't have that. And if we involve police, they might. She nodded grimly. We have to tell Alex. He's got private investigators, tech to trace calls without alerting anyone. But brace yourself, he'll blame you. He's been on edge since learning about the triplets. I swallowed hard. I know. But for Noah, I'll take it. We drove to Thornton Enterprises, the towering glass building looming like a fortress. Alex was in his corner office, surrounded by screens and reports, his dark hair slightly tousled from a long day. At 38, he looked every bit the powerful CEO, but the stress of our situation had added shadows under his blue eyes. He looked up as we entered unannounced, irritation flashing across his sharp features. What is this? I'm in the middle of— Noah's been kidnapped, I interrupted, my voice cracking. I got the call an hour ago. They want $2 million, no police. They let me hear him. He's alive, but terrified. Alex, please, help me get him back. His face went ashen, then hardened into a mask of fury. He stood abruptly, knocking over a coffee cup that shattered on the floor. Kidnapped? How? Where was he? This is because of you, Chloe, dragging us through this mess with your secrets and lies. If you just stayed gone, or been honest from the start, none of this— Alex, enough, Victoria snapped, stepping forward. Yelling at her won't save Noah. We need your resources. Trace the call. Mobilize your team. Blame can wait. He glared at me, jaw clenched, but the fear in his eyes betrayed him. He nodded curtly. Fine, for Noah. He grabbed his phone, dialing his head of security, Marcus, a stocky man in his 50s with a no-nonsense demeanor. Marcus, emergency. My son Noah's been taken. Trace this number now. Pull every string, FBI if needed, but keep it quiet, and get a team ready to move. We returned to the manor, the drive silent and tense. Ethan greeted us at the door, his small face puzzled. Where's Noah? Is he okay? He's with some people, but we'll get him back soon, Alex said, kneeling to Ethan's level, his voice gentler than I'd heard in years. He ruffled Ethan's dark hair, but his hand trembled slightly. As we waited in the living room, me on the couch with Sophia curled in my lap, Alex staring at his phone, another text came. Account details attached. 12 hours left. Tick-tock. Alex's fingers flew across his screen. I'm wiring it now. 2 million is pocket change if it ends this. He hit send, then looked at me, his blue eyes stormy but softening. Chloe, I'm scared too. If something happens to him— I reached out, touching his arm tentatively. We'll get him back. Together. Hours dragged like eternity. Marcus updated. Call traced to a warehouse district. No visuals yet, but we're closing in. In the quiet, Alex paced, then stopped, turning to me. Chloe, I can't lose him. Or you. These past months, fighting over custody, it's been hell. But seeing you with the kids, how you love them, it reminds me why I fell for you in the first place. I was wrong to be so cold during our marriage. My family's pressure, the arranged part, it made me build walls, but I regret it every day. I pushed you away because I was afraid of how much I cared. Tears welled in my eyes. Alex, I never stopped loving you either. The hiding, the faking my death, it was to protect them from that coldness. But I see now, you've changed. For them. For us? He took my hand, his grip warm and firm. Yes, If we get through this, I want to try again. Properly. No more walls. Before I could respond, his phone rang. Marcus. Sir, we raided the site with FBI backup. Noah's safe. A couple of low-level thugs, hired by an old business rival trying to hit you where it hurts. He's unharmed, just shaken. Bringing him home now. Relief flooded me like a tidal wave. I collapsed against Alex, sobbing. He's okay. He held me close, his voice thick. Our boy. And us. We're going to be okay too. When Noah arrived, escorted by Marcus and a gentle FBI agent, he barreled into my arms. Mommy! The bad men tied me up, but the good guys came. I was brave, like you said. I kissed his forehead, inhaling his scent. You were so brave, baby. Mommy's here. Alex joined the embrace, lifting Noah up. Daddy's proud of you, son, and sorry for everything. He looked at me over Noah's head. Chloe, forgive me? Let's rebuild, as a family. In that moment, amidst the chaos's aftermath, our wounds began to heal. The crisis hadn't just saved Noah, it had saved us. With all the truths finally laid bare, no more secrets, no more hidden pains, Alex stood before me in the grand living room of Thornton Manor, the Chicago skyline twinkling through the floor-to-ceiling windows like distant stars. It was late evening, the kids tucked away in their rooms after a day of chaotic revelations. Alex, at 38, looked vulnerable for the first time, his sharp features softened by regret, his dark hair slightly disheveled from running his hands through it in frustration. Those piercing blue eyes, usually so commanding, now held a depth of emotion I'd never seen before. He stepped closer, his tall frame casting a shadow over me, but it wasn't intimidating, it felt protective. Chloe, he began, his voice low and steady, though I could hear the tremor beneath it. I've been a fool. All these years, I convinced myself you betrayed me, that you schemed your way into my life and then vanished without a trace. But now I know the truth. You never cheated. You never stopped loving me. The triplets, Ethan, Noah, Sophia, they're all mine, and you protected them from the monster I became. I pushed you away because of my pride, my family's expectations, the walls I built around my heart after that forced marriage. But I was wrong, so terribly wrong. Tears welled in my eyes, blurring his face. At 37, I felt the weight of those 5 years, the loneliness, the fear, the endless nights wondering if I'd made the right choice. My brown hair fell loosely around my shoulders, and I wrapped my arms around myself as if to hold in the flood of emotions. Alex, do you have any idea what it was like? Carrying 3 babies alone, faking my death to keep them safe from you? You treated me like I was nothing, a transaction, a burden. That night we conceived them, I thought maybe there was hope for us, but the next morning, that credit card, that cold dismissal, it broke me. I loved you from the start, even when you were distant and cruel. But I couldn't let you take them all. They were my everything. He reached out, his large hands gently cupping my face, thumbs brushing away my tears. His touch was warm, tentative, like he was afraid I'd pull away. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, Chloe. I was blinded by anger and misinformation. When I thought you died, a part of me shattered. Raising Ethan alone, seeing your eyes in his every day, it was torture. And now, learning about Noah and Sophia, they're incredible, just like you. Sophia with your soft smile, Noah with that mischievous spark. I want to make this right. I love you, Chloe. I always have, even when I was too stubborn to admit it. Please give me a chance to prove it, to be the husband and father I should have been from the beginning. The sincerity in his words cracked my defenses. I leaned into his touch, my hands covering his. I never stopped loving you either, Alex. That's why it hurts so much. But we can't just erase the past. The kids, they need stability, not more chaos. If we're doing this, it has to be real. No more walls, no more power plays. He nodded, pulling me into his arms, his broad chest a solid anchor against my smaller frame. I promise, no more. We'll rebuild, together. For us, for them. The following weeks were a whirlwind of healing. We started slow, family dinners where laughter replaced silence, outings to Millennium Park, where Alex chased the kids around the Cloudgate sculpture, his usual suit traded for casual jeans and a sweater that made him look approachable, human. Ethan and Noah, identical with their dark curls and blue eyes, teamed up for pranks, while Sophia, with her sweeter features and ponytail, clung to Alex's hand, calling him Daddy with wide-eyed adoration. One crisp autumn evening, under the golden leaves of a Chicago park, Alex got down on one knee, a simple diamond ring in hand, not the flashy one from our first marriage, but something elegant and meaningful. The kids watched, giggling. "Chloe Morgan," he said, his voice carrying over the rustling wind, "will you marry me again? This time for love, not obligation?" Tears streamed down my face as I nodded. "Yes, Alex. 1,000 times yes." The ceremony was intimate, held in a quaint chapel overlooking Lake Michigan. I wore a flowing white dress that hugged my figure, my brown hair styled in loose waves. Alex looked dashing in a tailored tux, his blue eyes shining with joy. Ethan and Noah served as ring bearers, their matching suits making them look like little princes, while Sophia scattered petals, her pink dress twirling as she danced down the aisle. "Do you, Alexander Thornton, take Chloe to be your wife, to love and cherish forever?" the officiant asked. "I do," Alex replied, his gaze locked on mine. "Chloe, you've given me more than I ever deserved. A family, a second chance. I vow to spend every day showing you how much you mean to me." "And you, Chloe Morgan?" "I do," I said, my voice steady. "Alex, despite everything, my heart has always been yours. Let's build a future filled with love, not regrets." The kids cheered as we kissed, their small voices echoing, "Family together forever." Back in our Chicago home, the penthouse now warmed by toys and drawings on the walls, life settled into a beautiful rhythm. Alex, once the workaholic CEO, cut back hours to play board games with the boys or read bedtime stories to Sophia. "My world," he whispered one night, tucking them in, his strong arms wrapping around me as we watched them sleep. At 37, I finally found peace. No more hiding, no more fear. Love had conquered the shadows of our past, turning our fractured family into something whole and unbreakable. As Alex pulled me close in our bed, his lips brushing my forehead, I knew this was our forever, a story of redemption, rewritten one heartfelt moment at a time.